Good night, and I'd like to call the April 15th, 2025 meeting of the North Bend City Council to order. Can the clerk please call roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Mark Jocelyn,
Present.
Councilmember Brendan Elwood, Councilmember Alan Godhelf,
Here.
Councilmember Heather Cullen,
Here.
Councilmember Christina Rustic,
Present.
Councilmember Susan Torgerson,
Here.
Councilmember Errol Tremolata.
Here.
All are present with the exception of Councilmember Elwood, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Will the clerk please lead us in the flag salute?
And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, well, hello, everybody. I'm getting used to these full house meetings. I like it. Before moving on to the consent agenda, I would like to announce that our State of the City address scheduled for tonight is postponed till the May 6th council meeting. Additionally, I would like to note that we have added an executive session to the end of tonight's agenda to discuss performance of a public employee pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101G. We will now move on to consent agenda. We have 4 items on our consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries and is unanimous. Before we move on to audience participation, as indicated on tonight's agenda, if you're attending remotely and would like to submit public comment, please submit your written comments via in-person drop-off mail, fax, or email to clerks@northbendwa.gov by 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting. You're no longer taking public comments for those attending remotely via Zoom, unless you have reached out to our city clerk in advance of the meeting to request accommodation. We will now move on to audience participation. Since we will no longer be taking public comment after every item on the main agenda, now would be the time to come forward to the podium to comment on agenda items or on any other item you wish to comment about or speak to. If you have requested accommodation with the city clerk and wish to speak through the virtual platform, please raise your hand and we will take your comments after in-person comments. Please remember to state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak for the record. Do we have anyone interested to speak tonight? Kelly, I see you waving. Come on up. And thanks for being here.
Okay. All right. Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Kelly Coughlin Games. I am for this one, I'm 128 West 2nd Street as our office name. I'm the CEO of the Snow Valley Regional Chamber, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to respectfully ask the council to pause any decisions about the city's police contract, whether that's with the King County Sheriff's Office or the Snoqualmie Police Department, until we know the results of 2 very important elections, the Snoqualmie mayoral race and the King County executive race. These leaders will have a big influence on future policies, priorities, funding, and how agencies work together. It would be risky to lock in a long-term decision before we know who will be in those positions and what direction they plan to take. I also want to share a real example of success. We recently spoke with Simon Properties, the owners of the North Bend Outlet Mall. They told us that after a police substation was added there, theft dropped by nearly 60%. That's a huge win for public safety and for stopping organized theft rings that had been moving into our area. Our local businesses are happy with the service they're getting right now. They trust in consistency matter. And we look ahead, any new agreement must match or exceed that same level of service, visibility, and safety. Right now, it feels like we're still comparing apples to oranges. We don't yet have a clear side-by-side analysis of the options. Rushing into decisions now could lead to problems that are hard to undo later. So I urge the council to take a little more time, wait for leadership clarity, gather the right data, and ask the right questions. Let's make a decision that's smart, thoughtful, and build to last. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Thank you very much. Welcome.
So thanks for having me and for letting me speak this evening. My name is Alyssa Sprague and I'm owner of Birch's Habitat in North Bend. It's 202 North Bend Way, Suite A. And I don't really have anything prepared, but I just want to say that the way the police situation is for right now. I think it's been very helpful, and I felt like it's a great community service. And I enjoy that they are here in North Bend. And I feel like it's an amazing part of our community, and the reaction time has been really great. I have actually called police just fairly recently, and the response was very quick and informative, and especially with some kind of customers that are a little bit iffy in my store, they've responded very quickly, and I've really appreciated that they've been part of our community. And I hope that it continues that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Hello,
Welcome.
my name is Lena Bonsgard. My husband and I run Treasures in Heaven nonprofit thrift store that is currently located at the Outlet Mall. My presentation isn't planned for this evening, but you guys are all going to be discussing, but it's timely because we greatly appreciate the police presence that we have at the Outlet Mall. When we were located in Snoqualmie, we had a lot more challenges with our homeless community. Not that we mind them and we enjoy and invite them, but we do have to be respectful of our customers and keeping our safety and maintaining just the presence that we want. And having the police department there and present nearby is significant for us. It also helps us to ensure that our employees are safe. We have young high schoolers who are closing their stores in the evening, and it's nice to know that they have recourse with the police department right down the street. But what I really wanted to mention today is the huge blessing that moving to North Bend has brought to us. When we were in Snoqualmie, we were lucky to give away $10,000 a month. And now that we're in North Bend, we're able to give away anywhere between $17,000 to $22,000 a month. And that goes to several of our local food banks, Trail Youth Teen Coffee Shop, 2 benevolence funds in the Valley. And we also give to a few organizations overseas, one of which is Planet Changer. And we have not only built wells in Uganda, but also now a school, a latrine system, and we just purchased playground equipment for them off of the blessings of the generosity of our customers. So I really just want to thank you for having us. Treasures in Heaven has now given away $585,000 in 4 years. So if that is tied in at all with your discussion regarding the police department, please recognize that their presence is significant for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Hi, Corky. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me speak. I am Gorky or Quinn Gear. I've been a North Bend resident for a long time. My grandpa's the one who started a grocery store that's now the QFC, in case anybody doesn't know who I am. I live on 247, kind of by the library. So I've, of course, been around for a lot of different police, and when we had it over by the fire hall and all that, but we had such a drug problem over by the library before the Snoqualmie police came in. It was really, I don't even want to tell you the stuff I saw over there. It was just awful. And so the Snoqualmie police really cleaned it up. The trail, there used to be the old railroad tracks. They cleaned that all up. That got really bad there too. Anyway, I really don't want King County back. So I'm begging, can we keep Snoqualmie? So whatever we got to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Corky. Anybody else? Thank you, Ken. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm Ken Hearing. I live at 42217 Southeast 133rd Street, just outside the city limits. And one of my issues is that the Charlie 1 officer, the officer who patrols around North Bend, is going to go away. So we are going to be left unprotected unless Snoqualmie decides to respond to those calls. But I wanted to say I'm not privy to all that's been going on, what's gone on with you in Snoqualmie. I learned a lot about it in the last couple of weeks, but I think that there is room for negotiation. The Snoqualmie contract was never meant to be a end all and do all. It was never meant to be anything, never meant to be a partnership, and never contemplated to cover all the overhead costs. Those are sunk costs. So if we paid 20%, I think that would be a big benefit to Snoqualmie, and I think that's where they should land. Hopefully they will get there. The King County contract is not negotiable, at least from what I looked at. And it never was. We were always told what we would pay. And that's what it looks like to me going into the future. And after this year, well, number one, it's a low ball. If it's not a loss leader, it's a low ball figure that they're giving you. 4 to 6% over the next 4 or 5 years. CPI is probably going to come into between 2 and 3%. Why would they be wanting 4 to 6%? And that's cast in stone already. The chief selection. It looks like Snoqualmie has modified what they're asking, what they're allowing North Penn to participate in. I don't know that for a fact. I didn't read that, but we never had that in the beginning. I was allowed to interview with Perry when he was hired, but only as a citizen, not as the mayor. But it looks like to me. Anyway, I won't go there anymore. But you won't have any input to who the sheriff is, and you'll see 3 to 4 people brought forward, volunteers who brought forward for you to select as chief. You won't get to go out and pursue your own chief. You'll have 4. And don't forget, the sheriff works for the executive, not directly elected. Who's ever been able to contact the executive to talk about the sheriff or anybody else, anything else? The Snoqualmie contract was never a partnership, but a business deal. Treat it as a business deal. And put teeth in that contract if you need it. Put teeth in to make them pay if they do not fulfill their parts of the bargain. I don't see any advantage going back to King County. It was never an advantage to begin with. It's always more costly. We were able to save, I believe it was almost $200,000 a year by going to Snoqualmie. I'll wrap up. But anyway, the teeth should be painful enough that they won't be wanting to break the contract. And maybe even a contract break needs to be put in there, but make them do what they say they're going to do. And don't take no for an answer, but negotiate. Don't just take King County's offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody else have any comments to make? Hey, Craig.
Hi, my name is Craig Glazier. I live at 12414 412th Avenue Southeast. First of all, I want to say thank you. I can tell this is one of the matters that you guys are taking extremely serious. Just from the questions you guys asked at the work study and the presentations, and I greatly appreciate that. As far as making a decision, I've heard a lot of on both sides. There's a lot of people obviously here. The parking lot's full. I second Kelly's sentiment to take your time to make the right decision, because what I also wouldn't want to lose sight of is the possibility of eventually having our own police department. I mean, North Bend is very capable in the long run of having our own police department that serves our community. So please keep that in the back of your minds as you're making the decision which one to go with, let's say in the interim, until we get to that point as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Anyone else? Good evening, Rob.
Good evening. Rob McFarland, 1036 Maloney Grove Avenue Southeast. Good evening, council and mayor and staff. Different to be standing here. Fun to be following Ken. So I'm gonna try and do something I've never done, which is talk within 3 minutes. And so first off, I hope you're listening carefully to Ken. His experience very different than mine. I'm sure very different than you, Mrs. Mayor. So I would take that to heart in those thoughts. Mine is not a one or the other. Mine is just a few things that I gleaned from listening and observing last week's work study, the tenor in the room, the questions, looking at the proposals. First thing we want to make sure we're very clear on is Line officers, those folks here serving us, awesome. Always have done a great job here. My personal experience, whether it was King County or our own Snoqualmie North Bend force, great service. No criticisms for any of those folks. First off, what you're faced with is the unknown versus the known, and you're not happy. And so that's kind of a tough choice for you, right? The relationship and the trust is the biggest thing you're looking at. And that really comes down to, for Snoqualmie, can you rebuild a positive trust considering the past 5 years feeling like maybe it's not really been that way? For King County, it's can you trust a contract provision that will keep North Bend officers in North Bend when they have already acknowledged that there's going to be a reduction in force in the unincorporated areas around us? That's a tough one. I think the third thing for me is the notion, and it came up in several questions the other night, of having input and being able to direct. We need not fool ourselves. You guys, you're looking, if you go the route of either one of these, you're hiring a vendor, right? You're hiring a contract. You're not going to have that insight. I was frustrated with it. I know council members here were frustrated with it. I know former Ken was very frustrated with King County side. We see things a little differently. I see it's kind of, it doesn't really matter. You're going to hire them to do a job. They're going to direct it. EFR, same thing. While there's a council member sits on the EFR board, they make those decisions. You don't make those decisions, right? I think in overall, in the presentations in particular, I picked a really adversarial tone in what was coming in the Snoqualmie presentation, and frankly, from some of you. And that kind of, to me, kind of was showing what was happening. I know each year I was in, it was harder. I think you've got opportunity with King County. Either way, in summary, bargain hard. Don't just take what they're handing. You can go both paths. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Anybody else? Welcome, Dory.
Thank you. I'm Dory Ross, and I own a business in Snoqualmie and in North Bend. I live in downtown Snoqualmie. I was also at the meeting last week. Yes, sorry. And saw both sides. I think that my takeaway and my opinion is the same as Kelly's. I think we need to take a moment. You really need to look at everything. I know you're looking at everything, but take the extra time if it's available to you, because I believe that we have strong points on both sides. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I believe we have Michael. Michael, are you with us online?
He is not online tonight.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. All right. I guess we're going to move on. All right. We will now move on to announcements, presentations, and appointments. Item number 5, introductions. Tonight, Acting Chief Haracy is here to introduce our new North Bend police officers. Gary, will you please come over to the podium? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, Interim Chief Gary Haracy. Today, I would like to introduce two new members to our staff. Sherry Ty has been with us since November. Her family came from Montana, moved to Oregon, where she grew up, and in her 20s moved to Washington. She has had a long career in our public service field, serving over 2 decades as a bailiff with the King County Superior Court judge, and then later moving to the United States District Court as a deputy clerk. After serving her time in the U.S. District Court, she went to the city of Kirkland in their records department. Luckily, in November, we got the opportunity to steal her away from Kirkland, where she has been doing a phenomenal job here. She has 2 kids, One graduated from Montana State University, and another is a sophomore in Fordham University in New York. She also, in her spare time, which with what time we have as spare time in this career field, serves as a board member for Josie's Misfits Ranch, which is a nonprofit animal rescue. I will say she has been an asset to the department and has taken on a lot of responsibilities, especially in our public records request and our records department as a whole. So with that, I'll move on to Officer. I'll have Sherry say a few words.
Hey, I just wanted to say how glad I am to be here. I have served in the court system forever, and it's been wonderful going to the law enforcement side. I have to say, working with this group of officers, and it's so nice to see so many of them here today, has just made me so glad to come to work every day. And it's been nice to get to know the mayor and hopefully a couple other of you too. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So next we have our newest officer to the force. Daniel Berge was hired as our school resource officer. He is currently in training. He started in March, and he has a pretty lengthy career coming from Northern California. He served 19 years with the sheriff's department there, and decided to move here to Washington, where his kids go to school here, and decided one day when I was talking to him, said, I'm just not done. So he decided to put in for this job. He has a bachelor's degree. Well, in his previous life before law enforcement, he got a degree he worked in hospitality and got a degree in hotel management in Switzerland. And he enjoys traveling, food, wine, and just experiencing new places. I'll let him tell you about his favorite parts of being here now, but this is Officer Berge, and welcome to the force.
Thank you, Captain. Forgive me, did not know we were going to be speaking this evening. Thanks for putting me on the spot. Yes, it is. No, I'm thankful for the position that I've been given and the support that I've been given from the force and all the people that work for Snoqualmie, North Bend PD. It's a good family to be a part of, and I hope that I can bring you folks as well as the community something that I learned in the past and learning new things as we go forward and make a difference in our schools as a new resource officer. Thank you.
Acting Chief, would it be okay if council had a few questions or compliments or whatever they like for our wonderful new officers here? Council, do you have anything you'd like to say to either of these fine human beings? Hey, Errol, you're on.
As a fellow former Northern Californian, welcome. We are in Seahawk territory. It's a little rough, I have to admit, but welcome aboard. I appreciate you serving the schools.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it.
Thank you, Errol. Anybody else on council wish to say anything? Oh, Christina.
Yeah, I'd just like to say welcome and thank you for joining the force here. Obviously, a lot of positive reinforcement from the community with regard to the Snoqualmie Police. So you're joining a great team.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else from council?
I'm just curious what's part of it.
So we're in San Francisco East Bay, San Ramon, Walnut Creek, Pleasanton area, the Bay Area. And I am not missing the heat and the drought.
Anybody else I missed? Okay, I'm going to speak up, of course. It's a joy to know you. And I haven't met you formally. This is my first time, and I can't wait to get to know you a bit too. So thank you. Welcome aboard. Our community is a better place because of your hard efforts to come, and we hope you have a wonderful time as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, item number 6, AB 25.
Mayor? Did you want to get a picture?
The photographer forgot that. Yeah.
So happy to on.
Yeah.
Aaron's a wonderful photographer.
You have Photoshop.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. The fun never stops. Okay, item number 6, AB 25-037, appointments to Economic Development Commission. EDC position number 2 became vacant with the resignation of Martin Maison-Pierre on January 31st, 2025. Position number 5 became vacant with the expiration of Chris Castleberry's term on December 31st, 2024. Both vacant positions were advertised on February 3rd, 2025, and 12 applications were received. That's phenomenal. And thank you so much for that. 7 applicants were interviewed on March 24th, 25th, 2025. I am recommending the appointment of Ann Granderson to position number 2 for the remainder of position number 2's term set to expire on December 31st, 2027. And Tad Haas to position number 5, term expiring on December 31st, 2028. Councilmember Jocelyn, will you please make the motion?
I so move.
And do I have a second? Oh, okay. Motion by Mr. Jocelyn, second by Mr. Gottel. I understand that Tad is not able to make tonight's meeting, but I believe Ann is in the audience. Yes, there you are. Great. Thank you for coming. Would you please come to the podium at this time? No pressure, but thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving for economic development? Please.
Sure. I am very, very excited to be a part of this group. With a very old degree in political science from the UW, this is getting back to my roots. I took a detour into education and nonprofit and have now landed as a small business owner here in North Bend. And I am thrilled to be nearing my 1-year mark owning the Village Project in downtown North Bend, where we offer services to young families, specifically 0 to 5. We really love those babies and toddlers. So it's really a home for families to extend their home away from home. If they don't have their own village, we want to help them build their own. We're very happy to welcome Mr. Tremolata's daughter to our Explorers program, which is like a sample taster preschool. And I also am raising 4 youngish kids. I have my very first teenager as of today. So I'm happy to be here. But I now have a 13-year-old, an almost 11-year-old, and 7-year-old twins. So I like to feel very tapped into lots of different communities through both my experience as a parent, but also now in this new venture as a business owner. So very excited to be a bit more involved. Wonderful neighbors like Alan who have supported me and encouraged me to be more engaged. So thank you for welcoming me.
Thank you. And council, do you have any questions, comments, or congratulations to? Oh, there's Alan.
I'll go ahead and make a comment.
Of course.
And I'll put it to both Ted Haas and our neighbors. So I'm excited about this. Just to add a little bit more, Ann and our family are very close. My youngest daughter, who's getting married in July, will be having her whole family as part of her wedding party, just to give you an idea. When my daughter comes from Boise, the first thing the kids do is come running out to get excited and see the kids. They've been wonderful neighbors. I'm glad she's involved. This business she's put together is a phenomenal business, and welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan. Anybody else wish to come in? Errol.
I have to. I'm a customer. Yeah. Well, our family is close with Ann's as well, and my daughter Briar is a student at the Village and loves it and looks forward to it every day. It's a huge success. But specifically for this group, I think you'll be fantastic. I saw you sort of from ground zero, think this idea through, walk through it, lean on the community engagement with James and our staff. And I just think you're going to bring a great insight to the group and support others who want to take something off the ground. So really excited for you to play a part of that. So welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thanks, Errol.
Great, Errol. Anybody else? Well, I'm happy to say something. Here I go again. And it was a delight to meet you at the ribbon cutting officially, but I've been watching your wonderful space become more and more vibrant. And before that, I heard about you in a very positive light. So again, welcome aboard. We're very excited that you're here, and Tad as well. And if you don't mind staying at the podium for just a moment to confirm your appointment. Okay, so hold tight. Thank you for that. Council, the motion before you is to approve AB 25-037, confirming the appointments of Ann Granderson to position number 2 for the remainder of position number 2's current term, expiring on December 31st, 2027, and Tad Haas to position number 5, term expiring on December 31st, 2028, on the Business and Economic Development Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, that passes unanimously, as I pretty much knew it would. And thank you, everybody. All right, and at this time, let's see, are we gonna get the pictures? Okay. Have any chance of bloodshed? You're welcome. Oh, yeah, hi. Okay, item number 8 is presentation, police services. Martin, will you please provide our staff your report? I'm sorry, your presentation, excuse me.
You bet, Mayor.
Thank you.
For the record, Martin Shaw, Finance Director. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, I'll wait for a second for the presentation pop up behind you, Council. Okay. Again, for the record, Martin Shaw, Finance Director. This is item 8, begins on page 31 of your packets. The materials in your packets are the formal written proposals from the City of Snoqualmie and King County. I won't be going over the proposals in detail. What I intend to do tonight is to provide you a high-level summary. You should have a copy of my packet at your dais, and a copy of this presentation will be made available on the city's website as well. So several things we'd like to cover with you tonight, Council. I'd like to share with you the scored results of the police services presentation from last week, as well as the written proposals that were received. The materials presented tonight is for council discussion only. No staff action or recommendation is included for this evening. We'd also like to collate any follow-up questions that you, council, may have for either City of Snoqualmie or King County. We'll open up for discussion, and then next steps would be another work study next week on April 22nd, and then council regular meeting on May 6th. In terms of the scored results, as you recall, council, on the RFP, there were 2 parts to it. One was a presentation portion that was worth 50 points, and then a written proposal portion that was worth 100 points. Again, these the presentation as well as the written proposals were scored by the 4 department directors. The scoring was based upon the responsiveness to each of the required elements within the RFP, and then the scoring from each of the evaluators was averaged to derive the final scores that you see here on screen. So as you see on screen here for the City of Snoqualmie and King County, total score of 121.25 for the City of Snoqualmie and 117.3 for King County. The evaluators scored Snoqualmie higher for the written proposal, but scored the county higher for the presentation. In terms of non-scored items, again, these were outlined in the city's RFP. Both organizations met these requirements. I won't go over these in detail, but all these requirements were met. So again, the final scoring, again, is awarded to City of Snoqualmie with 121.25 points. What I'd like to do now is to just spend a little bit of time just recapping the two proposals. So we'll start with the City of Snoqualmie first. As you recall, this slide here was what was presented last week by the city. What we try to do here on the sidebar notes is to provide a comparison of the key salient points that staff felt were most important for the for you council. So the first one is cost. Snoqualmie's cost is 3.98 million. This is for 2025. It's important to note that this does not include dispatch. And the reason for this is we wanted to make sure that there was an apples to apples comparison between Snoqualmie as well as King County. And I'll go over the county proposal on the next slide. The city proposes 8 dedicated North Bend officers, 15 shared staff. In average tenure, which is something that we asked for in the RFP of 4.5 years. This is department-wide. They have the advantage of being quite familiar with North Bend, of course, being the service provider for the past several years. They enjoy a high community satisfaction rating. Their accreditation is in process, and their average response time for a priority 1 call is about 9 minutes and 26 seconds, and this includes dispatch time. Their proposal does include a financial year or year-end financial reconciliation. I have also highlighted several points in blue, and the reason for this is we wanted to highlight key changes or differences between the proposals, and we used the blue font to do so. The first one is the City of Snoqualmie does not yet have body-worn cameras. However, this could be a future requirement depending upon state legislative direction. Dispatch costs, this, as I mentioned at the outset, is not included, and that is because this is covered under a separate interlocal agreement with the City of Issaquah. These costs are billed billed to Snoqualmie, and then that billing is then passed through to the City of North Bend. Specialty units, as you recall, this was discussed last week. Those were provided under mutual aid. The City of Snoqualmie is proposing, in terms of a new governance structure, 2 advisory committees, SNOPAC as well as SNOTEC. And in terms of future risks, depending upon, again, the state legislative action, there could be some costs that we may need to be aware of in terms of establishing body-worn cameras. So I'm going to pause here just for a second and address any questions you might have.
I guess a point of information, Martin, our packets do not have page 6 in them. And no even pages. So I don't know if it's possible to get even pages that would sure help us track this. I don't mean to burden anybody, but that'd be great.
Yeah, I apologize. This, I think when we provided the copies, they were back to back, and the copies that were made were single-sided.
I do have, I guess, a substantive question on tenure. You cite, I mean, I went through the presentation, and for the 8 officers on patrol, it lists when they started with the city of Snoqualmie. And I think 4 out of the 8 or 3 were started in 2022. That's the longest tenured patrol officer is 2022, 1 or 2 in 23, and 2 or 3 in 2024. So I was unable to discern. I don't know how those are used. It does not, to me, state a clear length of service with the Snoqualmie Department. The upper level management has longer tenures, but to me, the tenure of the 8 patrol staff can't be more than 2 years.
And again, Councilman, this is a department-wide average.
Thank you. So this average is out of but it is just the, oh, come on, sworn officers. Is that what's being tenured here, or is it the full department?
The full department.
Thank you.
Any other?
Susan.
Yep. Susan.
Thank you. We submitted emails with questions, and was that going to be addressed here today?
We have those, Councilwoman. What we plan to do is to collate any additional questions you may have, and then transmit those in writing to each of the parties.
Would that be before our work study, or when would we be receiving that?
Yeah, so we would plan to transmit those after tonight's meeting, ask for a response from the 2 parties, and then we would review their materials at the next work study.
Anybody else have any clarifying questions for Martin?
Are we seeing the scoring rubric or just the aggregated score?
This is the aggregate scoring. We weren't planning on going over the individual scoring by evaluator tonight, Councilman.
Okay.
Any other clarifying questions for Martin? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Martin. All right, we are going to move on to commission and committee. Oops.
I still have several slides to go.
Sorry.
Mayor. So again, I believe Bob Larson's making copies of this presentation for you. This slide here recaps the proposal from King County. Again, we'll start off with the total cost. Again, we try to make this an apples to apples comparison. So this cost here does not include the cost of dispatch, nor the cost of their specialty units. So as you recall, the specialty units under the city of Snoqualmie is provided under mutual aid, and dispatch is provided under a separate contract with Issaquah. So we moved those 2 cost centers, and the total cost for King County after removing those 2 items is just under 3.7 million. As you recall from the county's presentation last week, there is a one-time cost of 1.2 million. And this cost represents the startup and hiring costs for new staff. Councilman.
Are we, I think we're trying to do the apples to apples separating the dispatch, but for the amendment we signed in January, there's a clawback clause. Effectively be a one-time cost for the following as well. Are we programming that into the analysis, assuming we take the number that you presented on the last screen?
No, I didn't factor in that one-time cost for Snoqualmie, Councilman.
No, in fact, I mean, that's arguably a similar quote startup cost, right? Because it's a committed cost based on the amendment.
Yeah, that's right. So again, there's a one-time cost of 1.2 million assessed by King County. Again, this would cover their initial startup costs for hiring new staff to service the city. This cost, as the county staff noted last week, it can be amortized. I think their typical schedule is to amortize that over 3 years. In terms of staffing, they're offering 12 dedicated North Bend deputies. They cite in terms of their staffing an average tenure, and this is specific to their deputies, of 8.3 years. There would be shared support and specialty unit cost pools. They did cite that they are one of the largest police forces in the country. Their average priority one response times. They used Woodinville and Kenmore as examples, and those range between 6 minutes and 20 seconds to 8 minutes and 62 seconds between Woodinville and Kenmore respectively. What was not clear in their proposal was whether or not these response times included dispatch, and that's something that we'll follow up with the county. Similar to Snoqualmie, they offer a oversight advisory committee that meets once a quarter, I believe. And then they also offer a year-end reconciliation. In terms of key differences between King County and the City of Snoqualmie Council, the first is they have, as you recall from the presentation last week, they have a real-time data dashboard that is fairly matured. Their dispatch costs are included as part of their proposal, and that cost center was worth about $257,000. Their specialty units are included, and those are allocated costs to each of their contract cities. Body-worn cameras are also included as part of their operating expenses. And as you recall, they cited the city's autonomy to select our own police chief, and then the police chief in turn would select the staff that will report to that individual. And lastly, the county emphasized that their current operating model is different from what it was about 10 years ago when the city of North Bend first contracted with the county. So again, I'll pause here, see if you have any questions.
Any questions from council? Oh.
Yeah, the one thing that I guess in either proposal, was there a discussion over jail services? Is the jail services cost different from King County and Snoqualmie? Because as we know, we do include the dispatch through King County, pay that separately. The other thing would be, as we're talking about true up costs, one of the things we did do and be curious to know, we have had to pay for the police vehicles under Snoqualmie, and how is that handled going forward compared to how that's handled currently right now. And that's, if I recall, part of the startup costs were for the vehicles for King County too.
That's right. So I'll answer your questions in order, Councilman. The first one is on jail. The jail costs are governed under a separate IOLA. So those were not addressed as part of the proposals. So those jail costs would continue as we currently have them in terms of our agreement with the providers. Your second question regarding vehicles, for the city of Snoqualmie, you're right, Councilman, under the previous contract or the 2024 contract, and prior we purchased and provided 4 vehicles to the city. The city still owns, City of North Bend continues to own title to those 4 vehicles, but the city of Snoqualmie operates, maintains those vehicles. Under the county's model, the new vehicles would be purchased, and then they would be marked as City of North Bend vehicles, as you recall.
Can I ask a clarifying question to that?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the age of the vehicles that were originally purchased by Snoqualmie, I would assume we're getting to a point of aging. Has that been discussed as to how we would handle those moving forward?
No, those weren't addressed. Those were not addressed in the Snoqualmie proposal. But you're right; those are reaching the end of its useful life, and the any reserve funds that have been accumulated for those 2 vehicles, if we continue with Snoqualmie, those would be, we presume, those reserved or those funds held in reserve would be used to purchase replacement vehicles.
Any other questions from council for Martin at this time? Nope.
A few more slides, council. We've been asked several times by council members about the cost comparison in terms of the cost per officer. There are two charts here. The one in blue on the left is the city of Snoqualmie. There was an average cost of $365,000 per officer. This is based on 10.9 patrol officers. And again, it does not include dispatch or specialty units. For the county cost, their average cost per deputy is $282,000. This is based upon 10 deputies. And again, it does not include dispatch nor specialty units. The reason why we bring this up is if in the future there's a need to add additional staff, these would be the cost or the data points that we would need to consider or negotiate with the respective parties. This next slide is overhead rate comparison. Again, this was something that.
Pardon me, Martin.
Martin, I got a question for you. Based upon those numbers up there, based on the CMS study, where would those numbers fall in the percentage based on the CMS study? Could you recall that?
I'd have to look, Councilman. I don't remember that offhand.
Okay.
Please continue. When you're ready, of course.
On the next slide, again, on overhead costs, again, council, several of you have asked us about this. City of Snoqualmie, their proposal is at 15%, or it averages out to about $48,000 per patrol officer. Again, the identified overhead costs is $519,000, and we divide that over 10.89 patrol officers. That comes out to about $48,000 per officer. For King County, their overhead costs totals about $211,000. Divide that across 10 deputies is $21,000 per deputy, or for an average overhead rate of about 7.5%. One of the questions that we were try to anticipate from you all, council, in term is the why the difference in overhead between the county and King County. And the only thing I can surmise is that the county, because it's such a much larger organization, they have the advantage of economies of scale, and they're able to spread that overhead cost, which is relatively fixed across a larger customer base.
Susan.
Do we have any sort of delineation as to what the actual overhead costs are? Like, what are they specifically? Do we have line items of what these overhead costs are for both entities, actually?
In the county's proposal, they were a bit more specific as to what those are, Councilwoman, and I'll point you to the page that's in there. For the county's proposal, you find that on page 17. This includes things such as budget and accounting, information services, personnel, property management, public disclosure, records management. For the for the city's proposal, excuse me, you find this on page 16 of their proposal, and it includes contract administration and facilities charge. And as you recall from the city's from Snoqualmie's presentation last week, that 15% was modeled after the 15% overhead rate that was utilized by Eastside Fire and Rescue.
Martin, Arrow.
So how would we treat, what's your accounting for when applied the clawback for the amendment, right? So there's a $1.2 million differential from the amendment to the proposal. Are you going to burden that as an overhead spread out over time, or is it from free cash flow? Is it a one-time payment?
Well, it would be.
Like, how are we going to view that chunk of money?
Let me see if I can understand your question, Councilman. You're talking about the 15% for Snoqualmie?
There's a clawback provision in the amendment. So if we extend with Snoqualmie, there's a differential from the proposal to what we're paying today of $1.2 million. When we burden the analysis, will that go through an OpEx pass through? So that'll burden these numbers per officer, or are you treating it as a one-time cash deposit for what we owe? And then how do we view that when we're trying to get to an apples to apples comparison?
Right. Okay. So answer to your questions, two parts of your question. So number one, in terms of the what you call the clawback provision, that cost differential between our short-term renewal ILA of 2.8 million, right, versus the 3.9 million, that 1.1 million would be amortized over the 12 months going back to January.
Right.
In terms of the overhead costs, this 15%, that would be embedded as part of the 3.9 million that the city is proposing.
Okay, so then when you right size this analysis, my question is, does the cost per patrol officer go up because you're going to burden it as a pass-through operating expense that we're paying now?
No, the cost per officer here at 365,000, that includes the overhead expenses.
Right, but you haven't. My previous question, when you presented the Snoqualmie offer, you had not associated the clawback period in the analysis, right?
That's right.
Right. So we have to apply it somewhere.
That's right. Right. So that additional 1.1 million that we would need to bridge between our current 2.8 million to the 3.9 million, that those would be monies that the city would need to make up and find.
Right. So that's what my only concern. I just want to make sure we're looking from a free cash flow perspective, starting today, moving forward. We're comparing all the cash that's going out from our fund.
Ellen.
Yeah, since it was mentioned about East Side Firearm Rescue, I'd love to have the opportunity to clarify that statement, if that is okay. The statement made that there's a 15% charge to our contract cities is very much true. But to level set that, our contract cities are not charged for the same type of overhead that the ILA is charged for. For example, the cost of the administration building and the members of those administration are not charged. That's why that administration fee is brought forward. The reason it's important is, as we do, each contract city pays for their services and pays for their employees that are there. The assets are then, they also cover their own assets for their, similar to our cars. Okay, but they can be, what the positive for East Side Fire and Rescue is the ability to share those assets across the whole operations, which gives us much better coverage and much better benefits. At the end of it, it shows that it covers the costs and helps provide better services. So it is not true that we pay the overhead that we're being asked here and a administrative fee on top of it. So I'd like to just clear that up.
Yeah. Anybody else I missed, or clarifying questions from Martin? Okay.
Great. So in terms of next steps, we did receive, staff did receive several questions from through council at various times. We plan to collate those, we'll organize those, and again, we'll transmit them to City of Snoqualmie as well as King County, and request a response by end of this week, if possible, or Monday. And we'll have those in time for our work study next Tuesday. At this time, I'd like to open it up to any additional discussion or any additional direction council might have for staff.
Any other additional comments to make? Susan?
I have to say, I'm really quite concerned and disappointed in both North Bend and Snoqualmie, because it seems like the vehicles got overlooked. And that's like, we've been doing this whole thing. We knew 2 years ago that we're going to be having to, our contract was going to end December 31st, 2024. And there hasn't been a conversation about the vehicles or any sort of game plan there. And that just seems like a lack of forethought on both cities. And frankly, it's disappointing.
Thank you, Susan. Anybody else from council? Alan?
Yeah, I'd like to make some clarifying comments here. One of the things I'm one of the longest serving councilmen, and I was here when we made this decision to move from King County to Snoqualmie. I'll tell you, I was a no on that point in time, but my job was to turn around and see what we could do to implement this the best way we could. From this point, I'm going to make it clear, the Snoqualmie officers and the service that we've been provided have been bar none phenomenal, and we have no issues with that. My concern has been with this negotiation, and I think the public needs to understand this has not been just what you've seen. This has been a negotiation over several years. I have a concern that we pick and choose during the presentation what we talk about. We talk about the CMS study, and we pick out a piece of it. We don't show that the overall cost that Snoqualmie is asking us to pay at this point in time is far above the national averages we would see. Second of all, we seem to pick and choose what we want when we talk about the Eastside Fire and Rescue contract. That is a partnership for the city. We have an ILA, we are a member, and we are involved in every policy procedure as a member of that board. What we have here is a contract, and what we're being asked to pay is a partner pricing. And that is my concern here. I have no qualms at all with the services and the officers we have here. And I want our public to know this has been discussed and negotiated now for a couple of years, and this has been a discussion going on. Okay, so this isn't a new thing. I know everybody wants to see us hold off a decision, and I understand that. But we need to have partners or somebody who understands what we're asking for as a contract. We are not asking for a partnership, and I believe we should be priced as a contract, not a partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Anybody else? Oh, Mark.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, it's an interesting evening. We're in discussion in a public forum, and this model of governance is not set up to promote conversation, just to be clear. We all get to talk one at a time, and we need, of course, to be mindful of what we say. I have a couple of questions for you, Martin, clarifying questions. Are we bound by the scoring that you've presented us this evening?
No, you're not.
Thank you.
The scoring is only presented as one data point.
Thank you. That's a data point. Are you willing to offer any sort of margin of error on the, I notice a 4-point differential, which seems, was there a total maximum score that I should know what that was, 200 or?
Total maximum score was 150 points.
150 points. So I haven't done the math on what that percentage is. It's going to be a 2 or 3% offset. So are you, I'll just point that out. It's unusual for me. I did want to respond to some of the public comment that was offered. I very much appreciate people's presence and engaging. This is not easy. It's hard work. It has been going on for a long time. I have been paying as much attention as I'm capable of, and it's a lot. And there's different stories. I often think I think know the parable of, you have a bunch of different people putting hands on an elephant with their eyes shut, and depending on what part of the elephant you're touching, you come up with a very different, vastly, the experience that you go through is incredibly different, even though, in fact, you're all engaged in talking about interacting with the same thing. And that's relevant. I appreciate the request to push out the timeline. At the moment, of course, these two bodies are in a contractual relationship that we extended through May 31st with the cost to this city did go up. I want to acknowledge that. But we can't not have a contract for police services in this town. Just to be perfectly clear, that is a situation we cannot end up in. I will point out that as a council, we met April 8th to get proposals. We're meeting tonight. We're meeting next week. We're meeting 2 weeks after that. There has been more time and energy given to this item already than anything in my tenure here on council. So the request that somehow we extend this out further Boy, that's a tough one. I'm not willing as a officer of North Bend to say, oh, I'm waiting for election in other cities and other towns to decide and guide what this city is going to do. That's a non-starter. It doesn't lead anywhere. So, I mean, you could play all the different results, if A wins here and B loses there on and so forth. I don't know where that leads. I don't find it informative or helpful. I also do want to suggest that I want to push that we had an offering that, I don't want King County. Well, that was a long time ago. I believe there was one officer. It was not 24/7 coverage. The population of this town was a third of what it is today. I don't find it particularly convincing or relevant to compare experiences people had back then. What we're being offered from King County is dedicated patrol officers in their own cars that say North Bend. I don't know how many people realize that the police services in Sammamish are King County deputies. All of the cars say Sammamish. The patrols are King County deputies, but it feels like a Sammamish Police Department, and the people who work there work only in Sammamish. And so I would be curious how many people in Sammamish would, if you put the same officers in a King County patrol car, would they perceive their public service, the receipt of police servicing differently? And I would have the same question of folks here. I think people would think, oh, if it's a King County Sheriff car, I might feel somehow it's a different level of service than if it's a car that says North Bend on it. And of course, I would object to that. It's possible if this plays out, if hypothetically we go with this, this city contracts with King County, well, there might be some vacancies and some of those officers might be dismissed and they might apply for new jobs and hired by King County and end up back on the streets. The nature of the patrolling is not in question as offered by Congo member Godhelf, and I totally agree. I do have concerns about the youth of the eyes on our street. We've had incidents in the past, which I don't want to repeat, believe me. So that is grounds for concern. I guess those are my thoughts at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else? Did I catch everybody?
Mayor, I have a comment. to
Yes,
make.
Bob, of course.
I want to answer the concern of Councilmember Torgensen. And back in 2019, when the I'll call the current ILA or the extended ILA was approved, agreed upon, there was an establishment of an equipment replacement fund. It's Article 6 or Chapter 6 of the agreement. And they did create one. It's subsection C, and we certainly North Bend's been paying into that fund at approximately $6,000 per month. There are funds now available to either replace those vehicles if you extend the agreement with Snoqualmie, or those funds would be distributed back to North Bend in the event that you decide not to go with Snoqualmie. So I want to make sure that's clear.
Thank you, Bob.
Should there be something in a new contract that talks about that and like we have a game plan?
Yes, excellent point. I just checked with our city attorney. She did confirm that is in Snoqualmie's proposed agreement. If you extend the agreement with Snoqualmie, so it is covered. They acknowledge that those funds are there, and there's no additional funds needed for that particular matter for the startup cost for the equipment, the vehicles.
Mark?
I don't want to dominate the conversation. I did have a question both for council and the public, not exactly next steps, but it's my understanding that come May 6th, this body is hoping to take an action to essentially say we're going to go with one of the two providers that have come forward to offered to provide us services. Or we'd authorize the mayor to enter into a contract, I would expect might be the language. But there may be subsequent negotiations following that point. And can you offer any insight into how that might play out then? There might be an opportunity to further talk about vehicles, for example, or actual pricing or the cost to the city. These numbers might in fact change going forward subsequent to the choice of a provider. Is that true?
Yeah, I can try to answer that, Councilman. So for under King County, the contract that's attached to their proposal, that is a common contract that they use with all contracted cities. So I think our ability to influence change in that contract with King County would be minimal to none. For the city of Snoqualmie, I can't speak to Snoqualmie administration, but if we were to renew with the city, I would hope that there would be some opportunity to have further discussions on the provisions of services with that city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else? Errol, excuse me.
Yeah, I'll just thank Councilmember Galt-Health and Jocelyn for their comments. I agree with quite a bit, and I would say on my end, the amount of work and my short tenure here on this topic has superseded every other topic we've ever talked about. The amount of work that's been public facing in this chamber, that chamber, outside of these meetings, individually from these council members and myself, whether it's with the public, with business owners, with neighbors, with other councils around the region, with other deputies and other chiefs, has been astounding. I mean, we are not taking this decision lightly, and I just want the public to know that this is not a knee-jerk decision. This is as thoughtful as I frankly think any government agency could be. And you all should know that. And so I just want to be very clear with that. And I appreciate all the work of my colleagues here, asking the tough questions, challenging each other on and off. We're not at a decision yet, clearly, but we're nearing one. And I would support the idea that we do definitively need to make a decision for the residents of North Bend.
Thank you, Errol. Anybody else I missed? Oh, Ellen, wait.
She hasn't got a question.
Oh, okay.
The other comment I'd like to make is this board did spend a substantial amount of money for our CMS study, of which gave us some guidelines on what we should be paying. And I think that's available to the public. I would love the public to see it, and I think it'd be important. It was cited by Snoqualmie, again, another piece of the puzzle as opposed to the whole report. And there's my concern right there. We're picking and choosing what we want to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Any more go around? All right. Thank you very much, Martin. Appreciate your effort. Okay, at this time, we are going to move on to commission and committee reports. I am going to look to Errol right now next to me for community and economic development, stepping in for Brendan. Thank you very much.
We met today in the adjournment room, April 15th. Councilmember Galt-Health sat in for Councilmember Elwood. We discussed an ordinance amending the fire permit fees with Eastside Fire and Rescue. We had in attendance fire marshal. A note here is actually those fees have not been considered since 2015, I believe. So probably well overdue. So that will be coming, I believe, May 20th to this council. We also discussed critical areas regulations and map updates to be congruent with our comp plan decision. And we had a couple brief updates on the water resource inventory area agreement renewal, as well as a discussion around the scope of work following our comp plan discussion last year as well for affordable housing. And an analysis done by LDC and placemaking. So more to come on that. But once again, an exciting effort that this council is undertaking for such a small town to really look into affordability and what we can do here in North Bend for that. That's
excellent. Thank you, Errol. Alan, Finance and Administration, please.
Thanks for Susie. That was one of the ones I didn't think about. Thank you. Susie keeps us steady. So Finance Administration met on April 8th. I had somebody come in there. So if you guys want to add more, because I was out that day, unfortunately, but the discussion was on the first quarter budget status report, the 2025 budget amendment, and the ordinance establishing bank anticipation note for Meadowbrook ULID number 7 construction. There was also discussion of amending the fire permit fees, which we talked about the CED. I think he mentioned that too. And that is it. Anybody who was at that wants to add some color to it, I would love you to. Okay.
I guess evidently no takers for that. Thank you, Ellen. Chris, for health or public health and safety.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Public Health and Safety met April 1st in the adjournment room, where we had a presentation from Kat Robinson regarding wildfire prevention, and it was excellent. We also received a fire update and a police update, some of which we're going to see tonight. And then we had a brief conversation about e-bikes, golf carts, and UTVs on city streets. And that conversation will continue at the next meeting. That's it.
Thank you very much. And Heather, over Transportation Public Works.
Yeah, we last met on March 25th at 4:00 in the adjournment room. We had 7 items on this agenda, which is pretty light for us on TPW. We discussed CED's idea to install mountain bike mound features next to Tanner Trail Transportation, which is a really fun idea. Secondly, we discussed a discussion regarding request for city to vacate ROW near Northwest 8th Street, which is a private development. The third item was we had a discussion regarding placement of rectangular rapid flashing beacons at the North Bend Way / Park Street roundabout. Number 4, there was a motion authorizing contract amendment number 3 with RH2 for private development engineering review support a private development. Number 5, we had a motion authorizing a bridge inspection contract with Parametrics for the Panatone Bridge private development. Number 6, motion approving Cedar Falls Way sidewalk, Maloney Grove Avenue to 436, design contract placeholder with PH Consulting. And lastly, we had a motion authorizing engineering contract with PH Consulting to create new parking stalls on Ballarat Avenue adjacent to Taylor Park. And that is it.
Thank you, Heather. And let's go to Mark for work study, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. The City Council met for regular work study on March 25th. On the agenda was Great City Meetings training from Ann McFarland of Jurassic Parliament, which I rather enjoyed. I hope you don't think less of me for that. But it was a great evening. I will also note that many members of the North Bend City Planning Commission attended, which I was impressed by, as did some staff. Thank you very much. We also, council met in a special work study, as many folks here know, on Tuesday, April 8th, to receive presentations for the provision of police services to the city from both the Snoqualmie administration and police, as well as King County. Thank you.
Excellent. James, over at Planning Parks and SCA, excuse me. Okay, Earl, you're on.
Attend the meeting, I should give the update, right? So SCA PIC meeting was on April 9th at 7 p.m. We met virtually. We discussed SCA's push for local grant authorities and key priorities to the legislative group right now in Olympia, and the priorities there were public safety, housing affordability, transportation infrastructure, local climate action, workforce pipelines, and behavioral health care. We also had a presentation from King County on a discussion about the wastewater rate proposal, which has very, very large increases, upwards of 12.75% to 13.5% year over year through 2032. That's an increase that a gap they're trying to fill from 58 million to 174 million. And that was telling, as I discussed with Mr. Rigos, that I'm glad that we have a wastewater treatment plant that council before me, or a couple, was thoughtful enough to think about. Probably very controversial, as some decisions are, but it will pay off. It seemingly will. And then we reviewed an SCA PIC member survey on effectively how to become more effective and influential as a body to the legislature. So more to come next month.
Thank you, Errol. Any other regional committee? Oh, there's Susan.
Okay, so on March 27th, the SCA Regional Law, Safety, and Justice Committee met. and for 3.5 hours. And what we learned was from a couple of judges about protection orders. They had increased filings due to some law changes, and I think it was 21, and that created severe backlogs and multiple other things. But one of the things that was interesting is that an increase on youth harassment orders because of that law that changed. It allowed younger people just to do harassment. So if they're being bullied, they're doing harassment orders. So that filled up the courtroom. And then we talked about unlawful detainers, evictions, and how it's really spiked from COVID, and they seem to have hired a couple of new judges and have gotten that down a little bit. However, the sheriff understaffing could be issues as far as getting some of those presented to people that need to be removed from their homes. And then what we did in our caucus afterwards is for SCA is we discussed potentially advocating for the increase of King County funding for public safety. And I think we pushed that to the PIC committee. So it sounds like they talked about it. And then I have information about the Snoqualmie Valley Chamber, if this is the right time to talk about it or not.
Yes.
All right. All right. So as the Snoqualmie Valley Chamber representative for the council, I have a little bit of update. So they had the Best of the Best Awards banquet recently, and 19 winners were from the city of North Bend. They also have this spring, they were honored to receive a silver award from the International Economic Development Council. And it has connected over 200 local businesses to mentorship, funding, and resources. Snoqualmie Valley Connect, a peer-to-peer networking group, has also been launched. About 98% of the participating members have reported receiving referrals or new business opportunities, which that's excellent. In March, the chamber had an opportunity to testify before the Washington House Transportation Committee, advocating for accelerating funding for the SR 18 instead of waiting for 3 full bienniums. We urge the legislature to act now to ease congestion, support freight mobility, and prioritize safety beyond the region. And then driving rural tourism with a purpose. They have received 2 major grants, one for $250,000, Washington State Tourism, and one for almost $50,000 for $49,999 from the Port of Seattle as part of a pilot program. And we also, they have an educational and policy conversation in January. They welcomed WSDOT and the Snoqualmie Valley Health to be able to come in and share with transportation and healthcare priorities. They also did a focus on emergency preparedness and the implementation of Washington's new composting laws, helping both businesses and residents navigate those upcoming changes. Then they're also has officially merged with the Snoqualmie Valley Innovation Center and aligning their efforts to support innovation, entrepreneurship, and workforce development. And part of that, they got a grant from the Department of Commerce for revamping the Snoqualmie Valley Jobs.com. It's a regional job board. And then looking ahead, they're trying to expand tourism and business development programs in our area here. And then they're going to do some advocacy, but both in state level. They're also got a great program coming up in March. I'm sorry, not March, May 4th through the 10th. And they want to really get a lot of businesses involved. It's going to be a really interesting program. They've got a social Sunday on May 4th, May the 4th be with you. They've got Mention Monday, May 5th, May 6th, Takeout Tuesday, May 7th, Wind Down Wednesday, and May 8th, Thirsty Thursday, May 9th, Friendly Friday, and May 10th, Social Saturday. All this is an effort to try and get more business in our downtown area as well as the rest of the Snoqualmie Valley. So they should be announcing that more to all of our businesses pretty soon. And I encourage them all to get involved because who doesn't want to go to a wind down Wednesday or a takeout Tuesday or a Thursday? And that concludes my.
Well, I'm in, Susan. Thank you for that report. Eastside Fire and Rescue, Ellen.
Thank you. Eastside Fire and Rescue Board met on April 15th during our agenda. Let's get to the right one. All right. During our agenda, we had a committee readout for the new Fire Chief Ad Hoc Committee as to next steps in trying to recruit for our new chief. Also, Long-Term Policy Committee did report out too. We discussed EFER's fire permit fee updates, which we've talked about 3 times tonight already. We had a staff report about surplus items that we're putting out there. We also had a conversation about providing a advisory seats for our contract customers to be part of our board. They will be part of the board and be able to listen to how the sausage is made, so to speak. And they will be part of being able to discuss what we're doing moving forward. That with non-voting seats, but they will be advisory roles. There was a staff report on public records. And then we went into executive session to discuss collective bargaining. During the fire chief's briefing, the fire chief gave us an update on Station 73, Medic 1 and Eastside Fire met at Station 73 to reunite with a cardiac survivor, Owen Foreman, who went in cardiac arrest on December 15th at 10 p.m. His wife performed CPR for 9 minutes, and with the guidance of our NORCOM dispatchers until the crew arrived. 20 minutes and multiple shock later, Owen regained consciousness and a pulse and was able to join the members at Station 73. It's kind of cool. We talked about instead of this year, because Snoqualmie Casino is redoing their environment. We couldn't use theirs, so we're going to have our annual rewards discussed at our next board meeting. There was a discussion on the King County levy, presented information about upcoming levy renewal. Since Sammamish is a city with a population over 50,000, it is one of 11 cities which is seeking support to place the renewal on the ballot. A 75% endorsement among 11 cities is required for the measure to go before the voters in November. The Sammamish Council is in full support of it, so that's really good. They had an open house of the remodeling of Station 82. One of the things the chief said is he got tired because he was lifting so many young residents up onto the fire apparatus. Our entry level eligibility list, after interviewing over 600 applicants to the interviews and conducting 3 rounds, totaling 550 interviews, EFER now has a list of 28 eligible people that can go through background checks, physiological evaluations, medical exams to ensure everything is lined before we go out to final offers. Unfortunately, a grant was canceled for the development and submission of a BRIC grant. We received formal notification that FEMA has canceled the funding opportunity for this grant. We further concerned by, and the statement in there was, we further concerned by the following text included in the cancellation. The BRIC program was yet another example of wasteful, ineffective FEMA program. It is more concerned with political agendas than helping America affected by natural disasters. I find that statement to be overreaching and untrue. We did have a update on PFAS. City of Issaquah and Eastside Fire and Rescue have submitted an official dispute resolution request to the Department of Ecology, regarding ecology's direction to conduct additional soil samplings. In addition, the staff have been working diligently to secure ongoing cleanup and funding for the state. Currently, the capital's budget does include $2 million allocated for cleanup in the Issaquah Valley. Audit update, like we're at that. The marathon audits are finally coming to close. And we thanked our staff that's been working very hard on those, and then also working on with our districts on trying to get their fire benefit charges updated. And that's it.
Thank you, Ellen. We're loving these full reports. Awesome. Okay, James, Planning, Parks and Economic Development Commission, please.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Good to see you all tonight. The Planning Commission last met on March 19 and held a public hearing and made a recommendation of approval on minor amendments to the city's critical area regulations and critical area maps. The amendments are consistent with best available science and includes updates to the city's critical area maps as well. The Planning Commission will meet next on April 16th for an introduction of amendments addressing the city's park, transportation, and bicycle and pedestrian impact fees to support the development of middle housing based on updated state law. In addition, the staff will also introduce draft amendments to simplify the city's residential and commercial design standards and guidelines, also to comply with the new state law. The Parks Commission meeting on March 26th was canceled due to weather. The Parks Commission will next meet April 30th, which will be a joint meeting of the Parks Commission and Economic Development Commission to discuss scoping, schedule, and a public outreach plan for the city's bicycle mobility plan. And finally, the Economic Development Commission met on March 27th and received a presentation from the Snoqualmie Valley Chamber of Commerce about the development of their destination development plan to promote and manage tourism throughout the Snoqualmie Valley. The plan is currently being finalized and several working groups have been formed to support the implementation of the plan. The commission will next meet on April 24th and will welcome 2 new commissioners and discuss ideas for the Port of Seattle Partnership Grant. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Let's see, is Gary back there? Gary, would you like to present for, please? Please.
Good evening again, council. I'm going to go over some of the March events we had. For North Bend, there were 485 calls for service in 2025 versus 409 in February of 2025. Snoqualmie had 531 and in March and then 431 in February. So both cities saw a little bit of uptick in our calls for service. As we look at our response times, and mind you, this is from the time we receive the call to the time we get there. On average, our priority 1 calls for North Bend were 2 minutes and 56 seconds. Priority 2 was 3 minutes and 23 seconds, and our priority 3s were 4 minutes and 41 seconds. As we look at thefts, we had an uptick in thefts. And those for March was 17 thefts in North Bend, 5 in Snoqualmie. In comparison to February of 2025, Snoqualmie had 8 and North Bend had 5. Vehicle prowls, there were none in the city. And our vehicle thefts, both cities only had 1. We had 12 arrests in North Bend, 15 in Snoqualmie. Our year to date is 37 for North Bend, 31 for Snoqualmie. Our shift coverage, we had for the month of March, we had 141 shifts covered. That averages 4.5 or just over 4.5 officers per day, which is 2 shifts. So you'll have ultimately a minimum of 2 officers on at any given time for the entire month. And then we had no CIT calls or crisis intervention contacts in the city of North Bend for the month of March. And then we had 55 public records requests. On our important items, we had an officer graduate the academy on March 5th and he is now on FTO. We'll be introducing him to you soon. And we had Officer Berge, who you met earlier, start on March 10th. We also had, and I'll kind of skip in, we've had an officer on FTO and he got off FTO on April 6th. So he is fully working the road now. There's some special event highlights, but I know those are going to be covered a little later based on conversations from earlier today. So I'm not going to go into those, but I will cover one that is not, and that is one on May 3rd. Starting bright and early in the morning, we will be hosting the fishing derby at the Snoqualmie PD in the tanks in the ponds behind it. So any kids, that want to come out fishing, this is an annual event. It's a lot of fun. I'll be there and, I'll have a lot of staff there as well. So I'll take any questions if you have them.
Any questions? Oh, Errol?
Not directly on the report, but since you and I were talking prior to, just for the sake of the public and the rest of council, can you touch on a little bit of the e-bike conversation that we were having and what you're seeing in both?
Sure. So e-bikes have become a hot topic. Today I actually had a meeting with both city attorneys. We're working on trying to come up what the best resolution is for it. One thing I will say is our biggest issue is with the illegal style e-bike, which is the one that looks like a dirt bike. It's a class 3 bike. And those are not authorized to be used on any roadways or anything. And that's even through WAC and RCW based on what we've been kind of learning and looking at. And we're just going to try to figure out how to fine tune some of this for both cities. There's safety concerns. There are rules of the road that have to be followed if you are operating them under legal circumstances, and be mindful of pedestrians. That is a huge thing. So there's more to come on that. Both public safety both public safety committees will be getting a little more information as we progress through this, but it is a huge concern. And I ask the parents to please monitor what their kids are doing. Keep our community safe. And, you know, you may be contacted by a police officer when we end up contacting your kid. So please take that into consideration. And right now it's a huge education process because they are very popular.
Mark.
I guess I do have a question about level of service. You, in going through the shifts covered, 141, I think you said 4.5 officers per day.
Yes.
My understanding is the current contract asks for 1 officer 24 hours a day with then some backup. We do not have a current contract that requires 2 officers and half a sergeant on a daily basis, I believe. So I'm curious as to, we seem to be getting a whole lot more service than we're paying for, and I'm not going to complain about that, but those two things don't match up.
So our staffing level right now is 2 officers in each city with a floating sergeant, and that's when we're fully staffed. We have a minimum of 3 officer. So for instance, during the summer last year and late fall when we were short staffed and a lot of my officers were in the academy, there might have been there might be times where there's 1 officer here. Part of that is to assess for a surge for calls and then also meet that requirement to allow officers to take off time, because if I just have 1 officer dedicated for each shift, that means I'm filling with overtime every time somebody gets sick or takes off. So we always have an increased staff to account for vacation time, sick time, medical leaves, and all of those things that come into play. So that's why when we're fully staffed, you'll see more officers in both cities.
Mark, anybody else? Heather.
Hi. Where are you in the process of hiring a new mental health person?
So we're right now reviewing the applications, and then we will schedule interviews. I've working with HR and communicating with even staff. I spoke with Lisa a little bit ago about having somebody from North Bend on the oral board process. So we're starting those arrangements and working through that to determine a date and get our board set up. And I even had a conversation with Eastside Fire today with Deputy Chief Aho about having one of his staff assist in that in their mental health side of things. So we're starting to build that.
Great. Anybody else? Thank you very much. Gary.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move on to mayor, council, and administrative concerns and initiatives. Let's start with Susan, please. If you like.
I have nothing to say.
Okay. Okay, Heather.
I have something to say.
Excellent.
So the weather has been very beautiful. We've all needed it. It's been fabulous. But just because it's warm out, our lakes and rivers are very, very cold. So be careful if you decide that you want to be near the water, because it's not summer yet. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Errol?
I've got a couple of things. One, I don't think this was mentioned in a meeting yet, but we have a brand new park down on the east side of town, the Middle Fork Overlook Park. Maybe it was mentioned there, but congratulations, Mark. Your team did a great job. The sidewalk works great. If you haven't been out there, it's a great little spot to check out the river. There's picnic tables out there. I think a few other things are coming in slowly, but it's really great down by Dahlgren. And then hot off the press today, I would love to tip my hat to Mr. Cha and his department, which was just rewarded a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. And per the notes here, that only 1,800 cities nationwide received this award, and it covers operational guide, communication tool, financial plan, and an effective policy document. So although I've been here for a short time, I have heard of some of the pains of the past in the finance world for North Bend, and you have very much righted the ship, in my opinion. And it's a pleasure to work with you and your team, and we rely on you a ton. So congratulations. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Councilman.
Excellent. And Mark, please.
Well, Councilmember Tremolata scooped me, but I actually did bring the printed certificate with me to read off of about the distinguished budget presentation. So I just wanted to double up there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina.
Well, and I'm going to just echo congratulations. That was fantastic. And I also just want to remind everybody, it is spring break this week, and the conversation about the e-bikes and, kids are everywhere, and we just need to be cautious of that with the good weather. So other than that, I hope everybody is enjoying the good weather. Thank you.
And Alan.
I'll echo it. Ditto, but I've always known we had a great finance director in you, Martin Shaw. So, glad that everybody else is beginning to see. As everybody knows, weather's changed, a lot more daylight out there. The kids are out playing because it's spring. So please watch. I've been seeing a bunch of people still going through some of the local residents at a little higher speed than we should. We don't want to see anybody hurt. And have a safe and wonderful spring break for those that are at spring break right now.
All right. And Bob, you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to echo what the council said about Martin Shaw and his staff, but also I want to note the other three directors sitting here as well. They've done a fantastic job. In my career as a city administrator and city manager, I seriously and succinctly and sincerely can say that this is bar none one of the best groups I've had to work with. They showed that tonight with the presentation on the police services. They'd worked extra hard. Some of those folks worked on the weekend to get their work done. I really do appreciate that. I also want to mention in particular, one particular employee you should be aware of, and probably will come to surprise to no one, but Bart Kelly, I heard about this and I saw him the other day, but I asked him about it, and he was very modest about it, but he saw a driver in the roundabout and something came off the top of her car. Turns out it was her purse with a lot of valuable stuff in it, including a lot of cash. Well, Bart stopped. The woman drove on. He proceeded to pick it up. He was also assisted by two other drivers, and they apparently didn't get all the stuff. There was an extra, I won't say how much money, but it was laying off on the side. Nobody could see it. That guy returned to City Hall as well. But Bart took the exceptional step of working and contacting through a different organization that this woman had a business card in there for, and identified her and tracked her down and got her back all of her belongings. Substantial amount of value there. And I just want to point that out. He exemplifies what I believe are all of our employees. And I want to make sure everybody understands that and notes that. I was really impressed. And if you know Bart, he's so modest. I'm sure he's probably embarrassed if he heard this happening right now. But, if you have a chance to see him, please note that. He's just an incredible person. The other one I want to mention is next week is the North Bend Cleanup Day. We're going to start at the train depot with the mayor with the proclamation at 10:30 on Tuesday, April 22nd. I'm putting a shout out to not only our employees going to be participating, but I ask if council, if you have time, you can join us. We're going to be assigned areas of the city to go out and help clean up, as well as anybody from the public and the community who would like to join us. There is a free lunch involved, so if that helps anybody to be inspired, please join us. But this will be my first year to do this. I'm looking forward to it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, so bear with me, folks, because I've got a little bit to tell you. I'm going to echo Martin and team. You are spectacular, and I echo everything that they said about you. We are beyond impressed. So well-deserved award, and more to come. The yard waste recycling program will be held Saturday, April 19th from 8 a.m. to noon at Public Works. Those attending are asked to use Public Works entrance off of North Bend Way. Program is open to select Saturdays through October and is available to all who reside in the 98045 zip code area. North Bend's Jazz Walk will be back in town Saturday, April 26th from 6 p.m. to midnight. With student ensembles beginning at 5 p.m. The festival will feature 28 bands throughout 19 downtown North Bend venues. I love that. The city is in conjunction with the Snoqualmie Tribe will be holding a special recycling event on Saturday, May 3rd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Snoqualmie Middle School. The event is open to all King County residents wishing to dispose of scrap metal, appliances, electronics, fluorescent lights, tires, and batteries. And not quite finally, a quick reminder that the Friends of the North Bend Library will be holding their book sale at the North Bend Library on Thursday and Friday, May 1st and 2nd from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can find great deals on gently used books and support library programmings. I'm also going to echo Bob's comment about Bart. I have a little story about him too. It happened with me, I guess. He located a small soggy purse somewhere out there, and he just dropped it by, and so humble, so modest. And, I rewarded him as best I could, but what a great guy. We were lucky to have him as an employee. So he's something about that, something about money and helping people resonates well with him. He serves his public. And on a slightly different note, I'm sorry to say with great sadness, I'm going to read it because I'm going to probably lose it a little bit here, but I wanted to share with you a personal and very recent, sudden, and tragic loss of my former husband, Dave Miller. He's the father of our two children. They're grown adults, fabulous people. And our family would like to thank the wonderful crews from Eastside Fire Rescue, the fabulous people from SNOPO, the wonderful librarians who called 911, and a spectacular human out in the community somewhere. I'd like to meet him someday if that's meant to be, that put out a valiant effort to save him before SNOPO and the emergency team could give assistance. Our family is changed forever, and it's hard to take this loss right now. So it's only been a few days. So I'm a little bit off my game. Please bear with me. I didn't mean to cut you off earlier. So Martin, but I really want you to know that this is so important to cherish the ones we love. Don't ever forget to tell them that they love you or you love them. My kids had the opportunity. It's just serendipitous. My daughter was able to talk to her dad just an hour before he passed, we think, and my son an hour before that. So they'll take that, and that's just unbelievable. So anyway, I want to thank you all and all council and staff. You've been phenomenal supportive system for myself. I will never forget that, and I will value each one of you the rest of my life. So thank you so much. With that, we are going to go into executive session to discuss performance of a public employee pursuant to RCW 42.30.1101G. The executive session is expected to last about 30 minutes. And there's no action anticipated as a result of the executive session. And the videotaping of this meeting will stop at this time. Thank you, one and all.